What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. You know I do a lot of weddings and bar mitzvahs. Bar mitzvahs? I haven't done one of those since I was in South Florida. That was so many years ago. A lot of corporate events, karaoke, and video dance parties have been my specialty. Today on the program, I have Mike Haynes. What? You don't know who Mike Haynes is? Well, you're going to get to know who Mike Haynes is, or at least a little bit of his story in the next few minutes. So stick around. Pretty interesting guy, I'll tell you. Pretty interesting guy. And full disclosure, he's my brother-in-law. Yeah, I got some family on the podcast today, so stick around. This week's shows, I will be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas on Friday night, the video dance party karaoke jam. It's a good time, always a good time at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. And they got a full bar, they got the kitchens open, pool tables, they got a pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to try to make some money, I encourage you to check out the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Yeah, do it. Be there. All right, let's get into it with Mike Haynes. I got him in the office, man, and that's pretty cool, man. I set up a couple cameras, a couple microphones, and we went at it. So if you're listening to the audio version, I encourage you to check out the video version on my youtube.com/user/KeysDAN page, and you could see his pretty face right next to mine. But if you're listening to the audio version, hey, that's good too. There's a lot of good information here. Let's get into it with Mike Haynes. Now, you can say whatever you want, man.
Oh, no, we're not going to do that.
No, this is your story, man. You tell it any way that you want, man.
Oh, no, it's not my story. I'm just trying to teach. I'm just trying to teach safety out there so we can get our jobs done.
Just put it on your head and it'll slide down.
Slide it up. But no, I'm just trying to get our job done. That's all I'm trying to do.
There you go. There you go. All right, I got Mike Haynes, man. What's up, man?
Oh, not a whole lot.
My actual brother-in-law.
Just trying to stay out of trouble. That's all we're trying to do.
Well, no, well, a little bit of trouble's okay. That's the American way, isn't it?
Well, you know, I stay more in than more out.
All right, man. Well, you're hanging out on the What Makes You Famous podcast. What brings you here, man? I mean, just
I just want to talk to some of these people about, big trucks. Some of them don't understand what the issue is with trucks.
Before we go there, let's start with a baseline, man. Who is a Mike Haynes? What is a Mike Haynes?
Me, I'm just a nobody, man. I'm just a truck driver.
Well, I mean,
too old to do manual labor. Just got to crawl in a truck, right?
We'll start with where you're from. Oh. You know, I usually start with where you're from, where you are, and then where you're heading. That's usually the way these things go.
We don't want to know where I'm headed. We already know that, brother.
All right. Well, I mean, start with where you're from.
You are kin to me, right?
By marriage, and I know a little bit about you, but I don't know a lot about you. And this is your chance to tell people a little bit about who you are, where you came from.
I like to stay secret now.
And then find you can tell as much or as little as you want about who you are, Mike Haynes.
Been driving trucks and. Just driving trucks, raise kids, and turn wrenches is all I know how to do.
Well, I mean, tell us about the turning wrenches. Where did that start?
Worked at Triple C there for a long time, and working on lawnmowers and stuff up there, and raising kids in the meantime. They were good to me up there. And these new owners, they're not bad either. So,
where's Triple C at?
Over on Conway, over on Dave Ward.
Is it still open?
Yeah, they're still open.
Well, good. It's always good to give credit where credit is due, man. If these people have helped you along the way, it's nice to turn around and give them a little shout out. And we'll put that on the walking tour, the What Makes You Famous walking tour.
Right.
Step through Triple C's, and if you need some lawn, a mower, or what is it?
Lawn mowers, chainsaws, whatever they got, just about anything. Blowers,
Well, fantastic.
They even got some tractors out there I see now that they put in since I come off.
Well, there's a baseline. I mean, how long ago was that you were working on those engines?
Oh, about about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Arthritis got the best of me, and I can't hold them wrenches no more. So,
Man, I've been waking up. My hands have been hurting. It's a drag getting old. When I fall asleep, usually it's my right hand like the thumb will start throbbing, so I have to put it down below my heart.
Do you want me to go there?
Yes, yes. We'll talk about throbbing thumbs because your mother-in-law and your father's going to listen, or your mother and your father's going to listen.
They
to this.
told me to keep it clean as I can. So.
Now you can do whatever you want, man. It's definitely your story. But that was only 2 or 3 years ago. You've been working on trucks
I've been working
engines?
on stuff all my life and driving trucks since I was probably in the mid '80s.
Did you go to school for that, or was that school of hard knocks?
No, it was hard knocks.
Learn on the job.
Learn as you go.
What was your first tool, engine servicing type job that you got?
I never really had a servicing, just small engine stuff. The only job I really had. I went to school for Votech for cars, but the computer industry at that time was just taking over everything, and I couldn't keep up with it.
Well, the cars are computers. Now when you step on the accelerator, it's not even you're not even pumping the gas, you're pumping a computer.
The only cars I worked on back in them days was race cars, drag cars, and we built motors for them. But, when they come out there and started having computer cars, 4-cylinders beating them my 8s, and I'm like, I'm done. I retired from that.
What was that? When I bought the Ford Mustang 5.0 back in '87, they had a probe that was a 4-cylinder with a supercharger or a turbo. And the 4-cylinder gave you as much horsepower as the 5.0.
Yes.
The V8 5.0. And I was like,
and if you hooked up the right computers to it, you could adjust your horsepower on the fly. And I'm like, no, I'm done.
Right. I had the 302, and it had 300 horses because it had chip in there. But most of them had maybe 280 horses when they came out of the stock, but you can add that extra horsepower with a computer chip. Yeah. Now, you did learn a little bit about that, but that was it. That was the...
Well, I learned enough that I wasn't doing keep doing it.
Gotcha. Well,
I mean, the training on them computers and them chips and stuff like that, just to go work on a car now, the training is just unreal. They got to be retrained every year because the technology increases that fast.
Well, when I first heard about you, when I first heard Mike Haynes, it was always Mike Haynes, diesel mechanic. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's Mike Haynes, diesel mechanic. He'll work on your diesel. And that was your specialty for the longest time. But then you've always done trucks too, right?
Yeah,
it's nice when you're a truck driver driving these big, giant diesel trucks.
Oh, yeah.
To know how to work on them because you see them on the side of the road.
I broke down a little while back, and the belt come up, slapped the plastic tank for the radiator reservoir, and it busted it. I got it towed in, and they're like, well, it's going to be 2 weeks before we can get to it. And I'm like, I can't wait 2 weeks. I ain't sitting in here in Idaho for 2 weeks. That ain't going to happen. So I went in there, and I bought the parts, went out there in the parking lot. It's misty rain. It's 33 degrees, and I put that together and had to go get a hot shower afterwards because I was frozen.
But still.
But I put it together in 2 hours, and I was rolling.
Well, that's a manly man. That's a good skill to have is to be able to work on your car.
Y'all just lost that money, and I drove off,
No, that's a good skill to have. People break down on the side of the road all the time, and, folks like me, I'll be calling AAA. I'll be calling, my roadside service.
When I worked for that record company, I did a lot of AAA stuff.
I believe you, man.
Yeah.
Now, okay, these are other little truck driving, little pieces of Mike Haynes, the puzzle. Yeah. You were a tow truck driver. How long ago was that? And who was it?
It's been a little while back. I did that in Little Rock for A1 Towing over there. But I did that for a while with them, about 5-6 years off and on.
Well, when I was firefighting down in the Keys, we used to deal with the tow truck service quite a bit. Yeah. And I know those guys work 24 hours a day. It seems like you never have.
It's dangerous, too. There was 4 drivers killed in Ohio last week. Or last month.
And that is another idea, another little avenue of truck driving.
Another reason I'm here.
Exactly.
To try to educate people on this so that we have less and less deaths and less accidents.
Another little avenue.
Missouri did a study on some of their big truck accidents, and they found that 85% of them was caused by a car because they don't know no better. They don't have to take the same test. They don't understand why that truck is climbing that hill, why he's slowing down to 40 miles an hour, because he's got 80,000 pounds on, where that car probably got 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Car, people, and all, even the luggage. and they fly past us. But when the truck goes over the hill and starts back down the other side, they pass that car again, and the people in the car get mad.
Yeah.
You know, and people don't understand. It has to do with weight and gravity, and like that driver in Colorado, he got sentenced to 110 years because his brakes failed on his truck, and he run over some people in a car and killed 4 people.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. When was this?
This was just here last month.
Well, I don't even know what month we're in. So you're saying November 2021.
Yeah. It was in November. Yeah, November. And they just come down with his sentencing, and even the people that the family of the people that died are saying, hey, that's too extreme. And right now, trucks are refusing to go into Colorado because if something happens, they don't want to get put in prison.
So this is like, I liken it to the medical profession where doctors have to have all kinds of insurance and they pay through the nose. You think a doctor makes $100,000 a year. Let's just throw that number in the air. Yeah. And then he pays $50,000 of that in all kinds of insurance and premiums and different kinds.
And that's just to keep from being sued.
To keep from being sued.
Well, we have the same issue.
Yeah.
Even though it's a big company driving this truck, that owns this truck, you got a driver that's sitting in that truck. Mm-hmm. And that driver has to get his own insurance to protect his own butt. Because when people go to sue, they don't sue these companies. They sue whoever's behind the wheel. And the companies will not back them up.
Yeah, you know.
And they wonder why trucking costs so much.
What you were explaining before was just the simplest of physics. You know, the heavy vehicle cannot make it up the hill as fast as the lighter vehicle.
That's right.
All right. Since you mentioned computers a while back, maybe in the beginning of this podcast, let's talk about computers that are driving trucks now. How is that? How are you feeling about this kind of thing? Taking the human out of the equation.
Who's going to be responsible?
Correct.
Who's going to be responsible? I have seen these trucks coming out of the Houston area.
Yeah.
Coming up into Dallas. They're driverless trucks. They got a mannequin sitting in the front seat. And I'll tell you something. I would love to be the guy that sets the mannequin up. Because he'll be flying the bird out of both windows.
The mannequin is really these trucks don't even need to look like trucks. There doesn't need to be a passenger compartment at all.
No.
If it's a robot that's driving, right?
Right now, they don't have a truck designed for all this, so they're using regular trucks with the sleepers and everything, so that they kind of blend in. But the biggest giveaway is you got this big black bar going all the way across the front of it. It's got these 2 big, looks like camping satellite receivers on both sides of the truck. They got some in the back and on the very front. It's got like stuff going on. I mean, it is just, it's unreal. And they're driverless trucks. And
you're driving along right alongside them. Mm-hmm. Do you feel safer with them or not safer?
I don't feel safe because I don't even feel safe if you're driving your vehicle and I'm a passenger.
Correct.
And you probably feel the same way. 90% of everybody out here does too. Yeah. If I'm not in control of it, that's why I don't go on airplanes or cruises. If I can't fly that plane, I'd feel safer if I was flying that plane. But if I'm getting on that plane dependent on this guy, not knowing where he was the night before, I ain't riding.
Let's back up a little bit. Tell me about truck driving, Mike Haynes. When did truck driving Mike Haynes start? How long ago was that? How many years?
About the mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s, which would be 30,
40 years ago, yeah.
I'm forgetting how old I am, man.
I don't want to go that way.
I know. I graduated 86.
So I started hauling logs and stuff and driving dump trucks on site for people way before I was ever 18. And one guy drove dump truck for before I was 16. So, I've been doing trucks all my life. And
this is all local? Yeah, or was there a lot of cross-country stuff?
A lot of local stuff until I hit 21, where the insurances would cover me. And then when I hit 21, I went cross-country.
Well, tell me about the difference between cross-country and local and the cross-country.
Oh, well, the local stuff, you go from here to here to here to here.
And you're home every night.
You never leave the state, and you're home every night. Now, cross-country drivers, they're never home. Some of them may not see the house for 2 to 3 months. Like me, this last trip out, I was out from Thanksgiving to Christmas before I come in.
You give up family. You give up family time.
These drivers, they give up everything.
Yeah.
When you're out there, and I don't care what nationality they are, if they got a towel on their head or a cowboy hat or trucker's cap. Mm-hmm. It don't matter who they are. They are all away from their family, away from their home, and away from their wives. And they do it because you don't get to go take a crap without toilet paper. Y'all remember the toilet paper shortage?
Mm-hmm.
You imagine if all the trucks shut down and see what kind of shortage you would have.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't have nothing.
So
because everything is built or brought by trucks.
Yeah, I've always said it's the lifeblood of America, man. You're traveling through these veins known as the roads and interstates, and you're bringing products and services, products to the boys and girls, the good boys and girls. Yeah, you are the Santa Claus.
That's like my ex-wife's husband. Mm-hmm. He drives too. He drives for UPS. He said he got pulled over the other day.
Yeah.
And I said, well, how fast was you going? He said, I was in a UPS truck, man. I wasn't going that fast, but he's pulled me over. And I said, well, what'd you tell him? He goes, well, I just looked at him and told him, your wife's going to be mad if I don't get these presents to the warehouse so she can have them for Christmas. He said, well, that's a good one. So he let him go, Well,
people don't know that a lot of these trucks are governed, especially UPS and FedEx, and they're governed at about 60, 65 miles per hour.
65 to 72 is the fastest they can go, unless they're going downhill. So,
I got you. But you can never have a FedEx or a UPS driver speeding.
And you do FedEx small truck. You're a local driver.
Sure.
So, that's, and you see a lot of times, a lot of times I'll turn my turn signal on and I'm waiting for an opening. 99.9% of your truck drivers, when they turn on that turn signal, they got to have that lane. Mm-hmm. So when all these cars start racing that turn signal and you can't get over, then he's got to slam on his brakes. He's got to slow down. When he slows down, it takes him 10 to 15 miles to get back up to speed.
Correct.
And it takes him forever because of the weight. Mm-hmm. And when he does that, what has he lost? He has lost time on his logbook. He has lost time on trying to get that load there on time because of one car racing that turn signal.
Well, tell me about time and logbooks and people that have to work a certain amount of hours.
I could tell you about the logbooks back in the day. I just got back into the driving, so this electronic stuff I'm still trying to figure out.
It's still a logbook, and whether it's electronic or not, but there's certain amounts of time.
Yeah,
that
the
people
biggest
can
thing
work.
is we got a 14-hour shift. Okay. You're only allowed to drive 11 hours, and that's it. So once you go on duty and do your pre-trip inspection and go back to driving, you cannot stop that clock until that 14 hours is up. So once you start it, you can't stop it. So when we get stuck in traffic jams, we get stuck because a car's not wanting us to let over and all this, we lose time that we can drive to get that product where it needs to go. And, you see, like the turn signal incident, the people advertise all the time. Train crossing, flashing lights, don't race the lights. Well, it's the same thing with a truck. Don't race them lights because you're going to have the same result as if you race that light or you race this light. Either way, you're going to end up dead or seriously injured. So, and trucks just can't start over and then whip it back because they'll flip over, lose control and all that because of the weight. Now, we can't whip through traffic like the car can.
So that explains the long way to go and a short time to get there. Exactly. Is you have only a limited amount of time that you could be driving to get to a certain place. Now I'm watching Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone, and I remember his mud flaps said passing side and suicide. Tell me about people passing left or right of the big rigs.
When you're passing on the left and you pass them, you don't just get part way and just ride there because you're doing the speed limit. That truck's doing the speed limit too. But if something happens in front of him, their only escape routes is left or right. 90% of the time, left or right. I got that backwards. But anyway, 90% of the time, they're going to go to the right unless there's a car sitting over here. Then they're going to have to go to the left. But if they're in the center lane, they got to have one way or another. You do not want to ride beside them and block their emergency exits because I'm telling you, if there's a car in front of me and they slam on their brakes and I notice a car seat in there, whoever's on either side of me is fixing to get seriously injured because I'm going that way. I'm not running over a baby.
Well, tell me about braking with a full load. If you have, maybe a partial load or a half load.
It will take up to a quarter of a mile to stop an 18-wheeler at 65 miles an hour.
A quarter of a mile.
Yes.
Let's sit on that for a second.
That's a long
quarter
way.
of a mile.
Yeah.
That's what you race. You were talking about
Drag
building
racing.
race cars,
Yeah.
and when you're drag racing, it's a quarter of a mile. And anybody that's watched a drag race knows that's a pretty long distance.
And it could vary a little bit. But you got an 80,000 pound truck doing 70 miles an hour. You're looking at almost a quarter of a mile for it to stop. Come to a complete stop. Now, if it's lighter, it can probably stop faster.
Yeah.
But we don't know that.
Right.
We know how much we weigh, but the cars don't. They don't get it. It's the weight and the length of these things. You can ride beside me in one spot on either side of my truck, and I can't see you at all.
Well, I've always been told never buy a mechanic's car because their cars you generally don't get fixed as fast as somebody else's car would. But I imagine that your vehicle is your livelihood, and it's probably in as tip-top shape. You check it out every morning
Most
before
of the
you
time
go.
it is. Company drivers, they go every time they enter one of their yards, they go through, their truck has to go through an inspection in their shops to where it is inspected, checked out, brakes are checked, everything's checked on it before it goes out the other end, before they let that driver leave again.
Well, this is a learning podcast. Let's go step by step. What is the checks? I mean, is it tires?
They check tires. They check brakes. They make sure there's no recaps. They go through everything. Everything on the safety end of that truck.
Everything, meaning open the engine, check the oil.
Oh yeah,
check
they check everything. I mean, they check that engine for leaks. If there's major leaks, they're fixed. Brakes, if they are worn just a little bit, they'll put new ones on them. Just everything. Oil in the hubs, wheel hubs, oil in the engine. Well, we got new automatic transmission, so they check all that too. So they check everything, because if that truck's down on the side of the road and they got to call a wrecker, it costs them a lot of money. But trust me, I drove a wrecker. I know what that stuff runs.
Well, whose responsibility ultimately is it to make sure that the driver does the check, or who is it that's doing the check? Is there a mechanic that does a check
when
of
they
a certain
bring them,
amount of
when they
trucks?
bring them through their yard, they got mechanics that check them. Even though that truck went through that service bay and got checked out and parked, when that driver gets in that truck, he's got to recheck everything again every day. You got to do a post-trip and a pre-trip on your logbook, and you have to check this stuff, your lights, everything, every day. Your lights, your mirrors, your connections on your steering, your everything, tires. All of it gets checked.
DOT
Brakes.
regulated?
Yes.
Department of Transportation
It is all
regulates
regulated,
that?
yes.
And how often does somebody from the Department of Transportation come in and maybe do an inspection?
Well, we cross them roads every day when we're driving down the interstate and it says scale house 1 mile. Those is where we get our other inspections from DOT and transportation. We get fined, and they are more thorough than anybody you ever seen.
How often do you get a scale? How many miles do you drive before you get to a scale house?
They're at the beginning and ending of every state. And some states, Pennsylvania, they've done away with their scale houses, and they opened up rest areas as scale houses. So they'll be driving along, and if they see a truck that they think needs to be checked, they'll pull his butt in there and check him.
Well, is there a cost to this? Is that
Oh
part
yeah,
of it?
they'll fine them, and if it's a major enough problem, if it's a light out, they'll write them a ticket and send them on the way. If it's a brake out of adjustment, they got a deal set up. You got the front axles, the 2 drive axles, and your 2 trailer axles. So if you got 2 brakes out of adjustment, they'll write you a ticket and send you on your way. If you got any more than that that's out of adjustment, then you have to call somebody out to fix that. If they can't fix it, then you're going to have to be towed off that property.
Is there a cost every time you go into a scale house, or is this an inspection?
This is just an inspection. You might have 6 trucks pulling through, and they may pull 2 out or 1 out of that bunch of 6 to inspect them. So it's just random. It's whatever their computers pop up on who's next.
How long does that take? Because that's eating up on your DOT time.
It takes anywhere to 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how extensive they go. They do paperwork checks, make sure that truck's got insurance. You can't get no more thorough than what's being done out here now. I mean, you probably could, but then you won't have nobody out here moving because they'll be scared.
Well, that's another piece of cross-country trucking that eats into your time. So okay, how long? Where are you physically trucking from these days? From Arkansas to where? Do you go all the way from East Coast to West Coast?
I can go East Coast to West Coast, but I mainly do not go west past the Rockies.
Okay.
Because, for one, California don't like trucks, but you can read that one on the news. I'm not going to get into that one.
Well, I mean, give me your little synopsis on the trucking.
They just don't like trucks out there. It's got to be a California registered truck, and if your truck is within so many years of being old, they don't want you in their state. They'll fine you, shut you down, and send you out.
Well, their emissions have generally
have
been
in California. It's
ever since the 70s.
Yeah, California is the only state that you can buy a product, and on that product it says, in California, this product causes cancer. And, that's your sign behind you.
Right.
It would have to have that sticker on it in California in order to be shipped through it.
Sure enough.
So
okay, and
that's why everybody in California is moving out.
Going back to my my slight reference to Smokey and the Bandit, I remember they were taking was it adult beverage? They were taking beer from from the Rockies.
Coors beer from Texarkana back to Georgia,
and they couldn't do that because it wasn't legal at the time.
No, that's what they told them. They told them two old boys. They said, that's illegal. He said, yeah. He said, what are you going to do with all this beer? He said, well, he's thirsty, dummy.
He's thirsty. Big Enos and little Enos. They were thirsty. But no, okay, is that something that you run into as well, driving cross-country? Is that something that still happens?
That still happens, but it's not with beer no more.
Okay.
Beer's pretty much nationwide now. Where that happens at is you got people coming across the border that's being shipped in trucks and are dying. You got drugs coming in that's coming across the border and packed in trucks. And a lot of times the drivers don't know it. I had a friend of mine, about 20 years ago. He got arrested coming out of El Paso. He picked up a trailer off the border that was sealed and locked, and his job was to hook to it and take it to another place.
Right.
Well, he hooks to it, and he goes through one of them check stations. They check him, and he didn't know it was full of dope and money. So he was arrested on the spot.
The courier must not know what's in the package. That's what you learn on every Bond film.
I learned that if that sucker's sealed on the border, I want you to break that seal so I can see what's in here.
See, man, every time I have to deliver something, I don't need to know what's in that box.
You don't want to know.
I don't want to know what's in that box.
Unless it's ticking. Then you get a little nervous,
Well,
right?
I mean, some people say, what you bring me? I said, I don't know. I didn't order it. I'm not allowed to open the box.
It's a box.
Yeah,
That's what I brought you, is a box.
and I get that on the daily, every day. But
you want to know what's really funny?
What is funny?
My whole family.
Please.
I mean, it's everybody, even my friends. They'll call me. What are you doing? Well, I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Are you driving a big truck? I'm at work, ain't I?
Well, okay. There's another safety issue: driving and talking on the phone. How is it that you safely? What is the safest way to drive and talk on the phone?
There is none.
There is none.
But I've got a headset.
Yes.
That is voice commanded, just like the one I got on now.
Yes.
And I got a microphone on it, and I tell my phone answer or ignore, and sometimes it ignores me. So I just let it ring. And if I'm in traffic, I don't even answer my phone.
Completely hands-free.
Yeah. It's completely
Don't have to touch a button at all.
Nothing.
Okay. Not even like an earpiece where you have to physically touch the button.
No, mine's all voice command.
All voice command. And what brand is that? Because I like to.
It's a Blue Parrot.
Blue Parrot. That's what I've seen at all the truck stops.
Yep.
They sell a lot of those things. So
some of them's good, some of them's bad. It just depends on which. I mean, it's like buying a car. You can buy the Corvette or you can buy the. What's that new ones they got now? I know the old ones, but
the ZR1. I guess.
You can buy the Ford Pinto, or you can buy. But half the people really don't know what a Ford Pinto is. But
oh man, I had a Pinto.
I did too. It was fun too.
But the Pinto Stang, I think that was back in the '70s, where they just kind of mixed those things together.
I had a Ford, a floor, and I put a 2-barrel Holley carburetor on my 4-cylinder Pinto.
I saw one of those at the track at Hollywood Speedway in Hollywood, Florida. We had a quarter-mile track, and they pushed a 400 small block into a Pinto. I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
They did a lot of cutting, I'll tell you that.
And they had to cut the firewalls and
made
that thing flew. That thing flew. It beat It 12, 14? I don't know. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Seconds to get across that quarter mile. But I digress.
Yeah, and go back to the trucks. It takes them minutes to stop on that deal, not seconds.
Yeah. So all right, so safety. All right, we're going through it, and man, I'm learning a lot, man. Mike,
my biggest issue is, like, I had a lady the other day.
Please.
I went to change lanes. I turned my turn signal on. 4 cars that was parked beside me. I mean, driving beside me.
Turn signal which way?
I was going to the left.
Okay.
To get in the hammer lane, and as soon as all these cars passed, I started over, and this lady races up there, and I'm committed. So I just ease on over. She goes off in the ditch. She does a lot of this and a lot of carrying on and slamming on her brakes, and I just kept going. You know, I looked in my mirror. She's all right. I just kept going.
Yeah, she's cursing you up a storm.
Nobody
probably.
else. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And nobody stopped to help her. Everybody's seen what she did. She was fine. No paint, no scratches, no nothing. We wasn't gonna worry about it. Well, I get on up to the truck stop. She pulls in behind me.
Okay.
And she is ranting, raving, throwing a fit. And she says, "I've called the cops." I said, "Good." I said, "Good." She said, "What do you mean good?" I said, "Ma'am, that's fine. You call the cops. We'll get this settled right now. And since I see you got a car seat and a baby in the back seat, they'll arrest you for child endangerment. But my cameras are going to show what you did. And they're going to arrest you." So she takes off. Boom.
Yeah.
Hauls butt.
Well, let's talk about that. You got cameras.
Well, I don't. She didn't know it.
Right.
But she already knew she screwed up, or she came 2 truck links from behind me to speed up there and get beside my trailer.
Okay.
She's wanting that check. Just because these attorneys tell you on these billboards and on the TV and all that, involved in a big truck wreck, we'll give you money. Well, that's only if you're alive to collect it.
All those logos on the side of your trucks, they're dollar signs to a lot of people.
Exactly.
Some people will try to push the
they've
envelope.
been told all their life by these attorneys on TV, since they were little kids watching cartoons, that if they're ever involved in a big truck wreck, that they'll get them money. Not every wreck's the same.
No.
I've seen people texting and run up under a truck, and when they was covered his body up, half of it was covered up over here, and the other half was over here because his car was up under that truck.
That's a high risk to try to
I didn't know if that was you or me that went off.
I'm sure it was me. I just needed to.
Well, I might get you to show me how to make noise when it goes off.
Or maybe it was you. I don't know. Either
I
way.
don't make noise.
But, man.
But, yeah, and I've seen a lot of that. I've seen people, they'll be on their phone. People, when they are texting or Facebooking or whatever they're doing, watching porn, I don't care. But when they're doing it while they're driving, their focus is 20 feet in front of that car. We'll start up a mountain with them heavy loads, and we're slow. We're slow pulling them mountains. I've seen cars behind the trucks doing this, not even knowing that they're doing 40 miles an hour. And then when they put the phone down and go, "Oh, I'm doing 40, they'll whip out, bam, get hit by another car or a truck passing, and not even look. Their focus, when they're on the phone, is 20 feet in front of them. That's it. When a big truck stops because traffic has stopped and they're on the phone, they look up, too late, they're dead.
Put that phone in your glove compartment.
Exactly. Put it down.
There's nothing so important.
Just turn it off. If you want it to ride beside you for security reasons, just turn it off.
Yeah.
I mean, these phones have killed more people than drunk drivers in the last 5 years.
I see it constantly. When they first came out, hey, I'm guilty. I used to pick it up, and I realized very, very quickly how dangerous even looking at that phone while you're driving. That's just another distraction. And while you're driving. And I'm not
saying truck drivers don't do it. I've seen a bunch of them in the ditch where they did it and didn't make it, and it's cost them their life or their livelihood, because once they have an accident like that, they're done.
You're done.
You're done.
No forgiveness. No second strike. No first strike.
No.
One time.
One time is all it takes. Running up under a truck, one time is all it takes.
There's another little avenue of apprehension for a driver. You know, somebody somebody that wants to get into this career of driving trucks.
Well, hell, I probably done scared the shit out of them now. They don't want to do it.
Oh my God! Well, I mean, even what was it, Maverick and Goose, when they washed out of their airplanes back in Top Gun?
Yeah.
Goose said, "What's that number for 1-800 truck drivers? I might need that because I just got washed out of this airplane." Truck driving, in your opinion, is it a good job to have? Tell me about the people that they're getting out of school. They're thinking maybe I'll go to college, maybe I'll go to truck driving school, maybe I'll do some other
There's
job.
good truck driving schools out there, but if that truck driving school tells you that you can, and I'm telling you something, there's a lot of bad trained truck drivers out here. I'm not saying every truck driver's an angel. They're not. So there's a lot of bad ones out here too. Just like cops. You got good cops, you got bad cops. Just like politicians. You got bad politicians, you got worse politicians.
Sure you do.
Yeah,
what?
I mean,
wait, did we just no?
No, there's no good politician.
But you try to come on. You go into it thinking I could do good, and then they start brushing your palms with silver, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
another story.
Okay, yeah, we'll go back to truck drive. Get off politicians.
You can if you want. This is all about you, Mike Haynes. I mean,
but you got the good schools. The schools that you have to watch for is, hey, 3 weeks we can get you your license and you can be on the road truck driving.
That sounds short.
That is very short. That is very short.
How long do you think it takes?
I've been driving over 40 years and I still learn every day.
Okay.
And some of these guys go through. I tell you what. Here's a real good example. When I was driving a wrecker, I had to go pick up a truck, and I'm not going to name the company because I don't want CRST to get embarrassed.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I'm sitting here driving the wrecker down there. I get there, truck and trailers broke down. Well, the truck's broke down. I got a hook to both the units, and I'm towing them. The 2 drivers are sitting in my wrecker, and I'm boogieing down through there, and I'm doing the speed limit about 70, 75 mile an hour. This driver looks at me, and I said, "You got a problem?" He goes, "No, this truck's never been this fast." I said, "Well, if it's hooked to me, it's going to go this fast because I got other calls to do." And he's like, I said, "Well, how long you been driving?" He goes, oh, about 3 months. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I looked over at the other guy, and I was like, "So you must be the trainer. You been driving longer?" He goes, "Oh, no, he's the trainer. I've got 2 months experience."
Okay.
That's a scary, scary thought.
I've heard tell, when the people are getting jobs at these trucks, even the smaller trucks, a delivery truck, the training is, here's the keys, don't wreck it.
Exactly.
That was it, period.
And that's what they're doing now. They are now, the government is trying to reduce the tough tests that people have to take. They're trying to reduce that down now so it's easier. Because they say there's a lack of truck drivers. And it's not a lack of truck drivers. It's more of the competition of all the businesses that left the country and everything's being shipped in. So if you have no manufacturing in the country, then everything's coming into the ports and then it has to be driven everywhere.
Well, tell me about that. I've heard that the ports are getting all backed up because there's not enough trucks.
Yeah, that's not the trucks. That's political stuff.
Okay, so there's no truth because I know
there's no truth
on
to
the
it.
east side where you might drive all the way to the East Coast, they have a lot better flow because most of our imports come from the West Coast.
Well, I'm going to put it this way.
Please.
When Biden lifted Trump's tariffs on stuff coming from China.
Yes.
When they lifted that, if you notice, this flow problem did not happen during COVID, did not happen any other time except when Biden took over. But when Biden took over, and I'm not blaming Biden for everything. Don't get me wrong. He is a dumbass, but we're not blaming him for everything.
Okay.
But when Biden took over, he dropped Trump's tariffs, and they didn't have to pay nothing to have them containers brought over here from China.
Right.
So every warehouse I go to, everybody gets everything from China. So there's these big corporations go, well, hey, that tariff's lifted. Let's get as much ordered over here as we can before it's put back in place.
I'm hearing about empty cans going that way and full cans coming this way. Yeah. There is a trade deficit.
Yes, there is a trade deficit.
Yeah, anybody that listens to the news, that watches, that even just looks at a port knows there's some kind of a trade deficit.
Yeah, there's a big trade deficit. First off, the manufacturing in the United States is all but deceased, except for mom and pop places.
Right.
All your major manufacturers, For example, car industries.
Yes.
You know how many times we haul the same car back and forth across the border on the south?
I don't know.
A bunch.
What happened to Detroit, man? That was.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're
making cars.
They put some parts on the frame and then they send it south, and they put some parts on the frame and then they bring it back and then they finish it out up here. So, you can say it's assembled in the United States.
Assembled in the United States.
It's assembled. It's not totally manufactured in the United States.
I've seen that. I've seen that sticker.
Yes.
Assembled in the USA is not the same as made in the USA.
It's like when you go to the store and you buy a bicycle and you get it home and you take it out of the box. Mm-hmm. You got to assemble, so you can technically say, I assembled that at my house.
In the USA.
In the USA. So all these cars are coming prepackaged to Detroit, and they're assembling them and then shipping them out. The only times they have a problem is when they forget to get the instructions for some people.
So as the truck driver, are delivering a box of car parts that are assembled in Detroit or any.
And it's all picked up on the southern or northern borders.
Big car manufacturing in Mexico is what you're saying.
Yes.
And then in Canada as well?
Canada's got some, and all the parts for the cars. Kind of like that saying on, what was that show? Oh, man. Where they tried to blow up the they went up there to blow up the asteroid.
Oh,
the oil drillers.
Armageddon. Yeah.
Armageddon.
Yeah.
It's like all these parts all came from China.
Gotcha.
So they come over here. They're dispersed between Canada, Mexico, and partially in the United States, and then they're all pieced together. Then you got you a car assembled in the United States, but guess what? Every part on it came from China, Mexico, or Canada.
Supply lines,
supply
chains.
Lines, yes.
Now we're getting into stuff that I've heard, and we're mixing a little bit of politics in here. The Congress can talk about the different states. They can regulate commerce between the different states. And
they can't regulate nothing.
They cannot.
No. Commerce has been set up from the 1600s, 1400s possibly, whenever it was Columbus came over here, was the beginning of commerce.
Okay.
And that has grown and increased over from the time the Pilgrims set foot here to now. Mm-hmm. It has been added to. It has been added to and added to and added to, and it just keeps growing and growing. That is a commerce network that no one entity can control. Because you got all these different companies. You got all these different owner-operators. You got all these trucks. Do you think one entity can control all these trucks?
No, there's five. 5 people control everything in the world. That's the conspiracy.
Exactly.
And it used to be one of them was Colonel Sanders before he went teats up.
Yeah, but you got to admit, though, he got a lot of chicken put out there.
Yeah, he did, man.
All right. And it was good chicken back in the day.
I know I'm kind of goofing off a little bit. I'm kind of getting off track, as it were, with the a racetrack.
You still got to ship chicken. You got to ship chicken all over the country. I used to haul frozen chicken.
I worked at KFC back in '86.
Somebody asked me one time. They says, "Well, if you're heavy, how do you get across the scales?" I said, "Well, I got a button in here. I'd push, electrify the floor, and all these frozen chickens would jump up and fly."
Sure.
And some people believe that.
Sure, they do. Like
some of them 3-week truck drivers believed it.
I believe that might be true, man. You can have fun with them. Well, speaking of Mike Haynes, I know we've been talking about some serious things. Driving a car, you're putting your life into danger anyway, and the lives of other people as well. But we're hoping that through this, it gives you food for thought and it gives you ideas, to try to keep in mind that there's other people on the road. And when you see a truck driver with his signal on, which he will use if he's a properly trained truck driver.
I'm going to tell you something. Them turn signals are not a suggestion.
No, they're coming over.
We're coming over.
That's right. Turning left, turning right. They're coming over. But, what is it you do when in your off time, when you're having fun? It can't be messing with engines all the time and working on your truck. What's your off time? What do you like doing?
What do I do on my off time? I'd love to go fishing and stuff, but I don't have enough off time to do that.
Oh, man.
People got to have their toilet paper, man. They just throw a fit when they ain't got nothing.
Okay, so tell me about a normal work week for Mike Haynes as a cross-country trucker. When on Monday, does it start Monday morning or does it start Sunday
it starts
night?
I've had it start in the middle of the week, middle of the day, middle of the weekend.
Okay, let's go with one of the craziest weeks last week when people are buying stuff online and shopping. And people are, this is the Christmas holidays, trying not to date these things, but certainly this is a big week. Tell me about your week as a truck driver, Mike Haynes, last week.
I leave the house.
When?
With 70 hours, any day.
What day? What day last week?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll be leaving Wednesday this week.
Go ahead.
And when I leave Wednesday, I'll grab a load. I'll head up to the northeast.
Where do you grab the load?
It just depends on where they get it.
It
might be Little Rock,
typically.
Memphis, Searcy. I may go up and pick up some tater chips up there in Jonesboro and take them to Chicago to get.
So you're driving a cab with a sleeper maybe,
and a truck and trailer.
Well, is the trailer with you? You have.
Yeah.
When you go to the Little Rock, you have a trailer already.
Yeah. I've already got my trailer.
Okay.
And when I go to Little Rock, I'll drop my empty trailer, back up, hook to my loaded trailer, which is called a drop and hook, and then I'll take off.
Okay, who owns the trailers? Are you working for a company or you're independent?
I'm independent.
Okay.
But I'm set up to haul different companies' trailers.
Gotcha.
I can pull Snyder, JB, just whoever.
Okay.
Warner, whoever we're signed up with.
And these are big trucking companies.
These are big trucking companies.
Okay,
yes.
and the name of your company is what, Mike Haynes?
No, I work for another gentleman.
Okay.
So it's but he's only got a couple of trucks.
There you go. And is it advantageous? Because I know I've worked for radio stations. I've worked for mom and pop where they own 1 or 2 stations, and then I've worked for giant ones that own 400 stations. And I always find that I have a better time with the little ones, the little mom and pops. I got more.
Yeah. I worked for big companies one time. I worked for one that was in Little Rock, and it was when I first getting started in the cross country business, and I had a son born while I was on the road. Well, I came in. He was born. I left out the next day. And when I left out, he had complications. Now, remember, this was 40 years ago. We didn't have these.
No cell phones.
No cell phones.
Gotcha.
Didn't even have pagers back then.
Yeah.
So, and we damn sure didn't have this kind of stuff.
No.
So, when I left the house, when I get to where I'm going, I'll call the house and check on everybody, and you do that phone call once a night because long distance was very expensive back then.
Correct.
Yes. Especially when you call and collect.
Yeah, you reverse those charges, and it could be $1 a minute, you know.
It's up to $2 a minute.
Right.
I remember when cell phones come out, it was $2 a minute just to talk on a cell phone.
I had my Ericsson back in '95, and it
remember
was
the old bag phone?
It was the Motorola. I had a boss that had one of those. And no, don't use that phone.
No, can't use it now. So
no.
But anyway, I'd called the house and I didn't get no answer.
Right.
So I called my mother-in-law, didn't get no answer. And I'm all the way up in New Jersey, Rhode Island area by this time.
And home base is Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell? So I finally get a hold of somebody the next morning. What's going on? Well, your son's at Children's Hospital. They called your dispatcher and they didn't tell you? I'm like, no, nobody's told me nothing. So I called my dispatcher, and I'm like, what's going on at my house? Well, they had a few complications with your boy, but we didn't think it was important enough to bother you with because we had to have this load go.
Okay.
And I said, really? So I dropped his trailer where I was sitting at that shipper. I already had $100 worth of money in my pocket, and the fuel tanks were full, so I bobtailed that truck all the way back to Arkansas.
Bobtail means no trailer.
No trailer. I left their load sitting there and left because I was coming to my family to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. So I get to Children's Hospital. His lungs wasn't fully developed when he was born, so he was on breathing machines. Mm-hmm. So I went over to Stuttgart, where the offices was where the dispatchers were for this trucking company, and I commenced to kick that boy's ass all over the office.
These are decisions you got to make as a man.
Yeah.
You know, a family man.
Well,
especially.
I got arrested, and they dropped the charges, and they let me go. But the cops, when they heard the story and what was going on, they said, yeah, we'd have done the same thing. So they let me go.
Yeah, you got to weigh those decisions out. I mean,
yeah.
Don't do anything illegal out there, my loyal listener.
Exactly. Just don't go whoop ass, because it's a whole different ballgame nowadays.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's
a lot more than the cops just letting you go, because that ain't going to happen no more.
No. All right. Well, I mean, let's go back to that's a sad situation right there.
But my son ended up being fine and everything else until later on in life. But that's another story.
Yeah.
And you know that story. So
I don't. I know a little bit about that story.
Yeah.
But you can tell it at your time, at your leisure, if you want to tell
we're
it.
Not, we're not going to discuss it. He got sick and passed away at the age of 13 with leukemia. So.
Yeah, I heard something about that. Probably exactly what you just heard, my loyal listener.
Yeah.
So there's pain and heartache in Mike Haynes' life too, man.
Oh, yeah. And if nobody's got pain and heartache, then they ain't learning life.
All right. Well, hard shift back to what your normal week is. Wednesday.
Normal work week, I'll leave out of here. I'll punch that clock. And once that clock starts, I'll get loaded. I'll get unloaded. I'll drive 10 hours, shut down, because I have to do a 10-hour break. Legally we can drive 11 hours, but with traffic and everything else, you might be lucky to get 10 hours in. Because when I'm sitting in traffic, that drive clock is ticking even though I'm not moving.
Are you getting paid by the hour or by the load?
I get paid by the load.
By the load.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Get it there in 6 hours, get it there in 10 hours.
Yep.
You get paid the same.
Yep. And it depends on how far it is. Like when I leave here to go back up to the northeast, it'll take me 2 days to get there according to the drive time.
Well, people here, it's good money. Ooh, it's good money.
It is
driving
good money.
trucks.
It is good money.
And that weighs out even with the insurance and all the liabilities and the fuel and.
Well, see, I don't have to pay for fuel because my boss covers all that.
Well, somebody's paying for the fuel.
When he makes me a check, and I try to save him as much. I try to fuel at the cheapest places.
Sure.
Some of these company drivers, I got these loyalty cards for this truck stop, and I'm going to get all the loyalty points I can.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's fine and dandy, but you're screwing your boss when you're buying fuel at 80 cents more than what I'm buying it for, and I just got it across the street from where you're at.
Yeah, and that loyalty card got you a free soda.
The biggest difference is when I go across the street back to the big truck stop, I have to pay $12 for a shower because I didn't buy fuel there.
Yeah. And that's another thing about cross-country trucking is keeping yourself clean. And
keep it clean. Now, some of the drivers, I admit, they go above and beyond. I even offered one guy to get him a shower, and he refused it. Oh, I'm not that bad. I said, yes, you are.
Yeah.
And the lady at the truck stop was like, yes, you are. And he got mad and left, But, I mean, sometimes when a shower's not available for me, I still take baby wipes and clean up.
Yeah.
You can clean up.
You got to keep clean, man, because it's your health as well.
It's your health, yeah.
Not only are you driving, which is hard on a body anyway. I see some of these drivers come out of these things, and they're hunched over looking like a caveman, you know.
Well, think about it. I sit in that seat a lot of time, that driver's seat. I'll sit down, and after 8 hours, we have to take a 30-minute break, and then we can drive 2 to 3 more hours.
Oh, no offense to cavemen out there. Sorry about that if there's any cavemen listening.
Well, I don't take offense. So.
All right. So you pick up, you drive you got 14 hours to get where you need to go.
Well, actually,
you try to do it at 11.
You got 11 hours to drive. You got 14 hours on duty.
On duty.
Yeah.
Including your inspections.
Including your inspections, your fueling time. And I got small tanks on my truck, so I might fuel twice. And I'll be honest with you, when you're driving down the interstate, and it could be in a car, truck, big truck, it don't matter. Big truck takes a little longer because you're heavier and slower. But when you're doing 70 miles an hour down the interstate, when you hit that, let off that accelerator, you let off the gas pedal, and you start to exit, just to whip in and go to the bathroom, get fuel, whatever, grab you a cheeseburger and take off. You've wasted 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Because from the time you let off that accelerator, you go in here, and you get a hamburger, you get a cheeseburger, or just go to the bathroom and come back in your truck, your car, and you get back on the interstate and get back up to 70 miles an hour, you've lost 45 minutes right there.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
You drove from Florida up here. You know what I'm talking about.
No, that's food for thought right there. Yeah. Anybody that's taken a cross-country trip knows you take that one gas station break. And some people had their dads who said, I'm not stopping for anything except gas. And you better take your pee breaks.
You better learn to pee in a bottle.
Aim hard. Aim well. Aim straight. All right, man. I know we've been chatting a little while. I didn't even get through your regular week, man. I got through one day of you picking up a load in Little Rock and taking it, and driving for 11 hours and trying to get some rest. Are you resting in the back of the truck, or are you taking hotels?
I sleep in the truck, yeah.
In the truck.
I've got a bed. I've got a TV. I got a microwave. I got a DVD. I almost said VCR, but I got a DVD.
He upgraded.
I upgraded last week. But I got a DVD player. Some trucks have got satellite.
Okay.
Just depends.
Yeah, you pull into some of these stations. They got Wi-Fi.
Well, not at the truck stops.
No, not at the truck stops.
No.
They used to. Flying J does, I think.
Well, they used to. They all got bought out and switched around. They're not the same as they used to be. But matter of fact, most of them is taking out restaurants.
And some people park behind the Walmart's got free Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah, half of them won't let you park there no more.
They won't let you
Not
park
the big
there.
trucks. They'll let campers and stuff like that park there, but they won't let big trucks in.
These are other problems.
Yeah.
Is finding a place to pull over.
Finding a place to park is ungodly. You can't find them. I told my boss man one day, I said, why don't we just open up a big truck stop with 500 parking slips in there? He goes, what was that going to accomplish? I said, charge them $5 a piece to park. Because when we go to the East Coast, and some places in Texas and all up and along the East Coast and stuff, you go to a truck stop, you have to pay to park there.
Okay. I know going up the turnpike, I see truck stops everywhere.
Some of them's $20.
Wow.
For your 10-hour break. So you're paying $20 to park there for 10 hours.
I'm sure if it was cost effective and there was a good business model for it, somebody would do that with the slips for $5.
Yeah, $5. I'd pay that to park in a secured lot where I don't have to worry about nobody breaking into my trailer. And that's another thing we have to worry about. We have to worry about people breaking in our trailers.
People breaking in your has that ever happened?
Oh yeah,
in your 30
years. Oh
yeah,
I seen it. I was in New York, stuck in traffic. And there's a guy, I hollered at him on the CB radio and said, hey, dude, you got people in your trailer. He said, not worth it. And he just kept driving, and they were selling stuff out the back of his truck to people in the traffic jam.
Out in a traffic jam.
In a traffic jam.
New York.
In New York. Go figure.
Come on. You see that in the movies, man.
Yeah, you see it in life, too. You wouldn't believe what all I see around these countries.
It's the stories, man.
Yeah.
It's the stories that.
I can sit here and tell you stories on the road.
Well, give us a couple of good ones, and then we'll close this thing out, man.
I'll tell you what. I seen a car one time. It was overloaded with people, and it was a heavy car, a small car.
Okay.
And they're driving in front of me. We was coming through Amarillo, and we got outside of Amarillo, and all of a sudden, I watched that back tire of that car, and it just wobbled a few times and shot off. That car dropped down, spun like this, and went in the median and started rolling. Every time it rolled, it dropped a child out. Oh. And it rolled another kid, and then another kid. And I slammed on the brakes. I turned sideways in the road. I got one kid up out of the road, got him over there with the other kid, and I went through here picking up anywhere from 2 to 12 years old. And it was like 5 or 6 of them. And it was a family. They was traveling. Yeah. Dad was pinned in the car. Mama was pinned in the car. Dad broke his shoulder, and that was the only serious injury. Each time that car rolled, a kid fell out that window. And then the car would roll over and leave the kid sitting there. And I'm like, oh, my God, these people are so lucky.
Yeah.
And I put all the kids in my truck. At that point in time, it was far enough back that my kids used to ride with me. I raised them in the truck.
Okay.
So they wasn't with me on this trip. They stayed home for a holiday or some kind of get-together. So they stayed home at her parents'. At the kids' grandparents. They stayed with them. I was by myself. But all their toys and stuff was in the truck. So these kids sat in the sleeper, and they played video game stuff while the ambulances and everything come up there and took care of their mom and dad and all the cops. And then I give them stuffed animals that my kids had in the truck. I give them all stuffed animal, and then they got in the ambulance, and they all left. And there's some good there and some bad. I'm glad that none of the kids were even hurt. They didn't have a scratch on them.
Amazing, man.
I mean, it's just ungodly. And then there's some instances where I see where nobody's made it.
Right.
So.
No, I was a firefighter for the last from '89 to '99 in the Florida Keys.
You've seen some bad wrecks down there.
Down in the Florida Keys, I've seen my share, man. Yeah. And I imagine being on the road, you see a car on the side of the road turned over, and a truck driver will see that.
A lot of times nowadays, back in the day, 80s, 70s, stuff like that, truck drivers were the heroes of the highway.
Yes.
Now we feel like
I saw Convoy. It was great.
Yeah, right. Now we feel like we are the enemies of the highway.
More like Smoking the Bandit.
We're doing our best out here, but every time somebody drives by, they want to do that one finger wave for you, and you ain't done nothing. You're just sitting there driving. So I look at it this way: if I'm not told that I'm number one, at least 3 times a day, hell, that's been a good day.
They don't realize their big screen TVs on the back of that truck, their toilet paper, their anything that they ordered on any of these Amazon or eBay is on the back of that truck.
You think about it. If you shut down every truck in the country,
and that's happened before.
During COVID, people know how bad the toilet paper situation got. Just imagine if they shut down for 7 days and all warehouses and all stores are set up to where they get 2 to 3 loads of stuff a week. Walmart gets anywhere from 3 to 4 loads of truckloads a week to keep their shelves stocked. Now, you imagine if everything shut down for 7 days, there would be no tampons, there'd be no toilet paper, there'd be no diapers. There wouldn't be nothing on them shelves, much less food. Yeah, but you got no food and no tampons, mama's going to be hard to live with.
Yeah. Mike Haynes, man. All right. Any other avenues you want to explore? Anything that you solidly want to tell people about the trucking? I know this is mostly to give people food for thought. Be mindful of the trucks, man.
That's what I'm trying to do is give people food for thought. Y'all don't have to take the same test we do. Our test involves distance of travel, braking distance, and all this other stuff, which I think the lawmakers should make it to where the average person has to take the same test we do just to get their car license so they are aware of what trucks have to do.
Well, tell me about those class licenses. Do you have a Class B, Class C,
I've
Class
got a Class A license. I'm licensed to haul doubles, triples, flatbeds, tankers. I do everything but hazmat.
Okay.
These companies don't want to pay extra for hazmat, so I don't haul it.
That's a whole nother story. You have to go to a different.
We had to come in and do a whole different segment on that.
Well, I mean, you have to. Well, we can gloss over it a little bit. Do you have to get another certificate?
You have to have background checks. You have to have. You have to pass some rigorous tests, and all these little placards on them trucks. You have to know what every one of them numbers are. And you have to know what every one of them symbols mean.
Dangerous goods, DG.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you've seen hazardous placards.
I've seen them.
I've seen stuff that's so contaminated going down the road that if you breathe it in, you fall over dead.
Yeah. Stay 50 feet away from this truck at all times, or 500 feet away from this truck at all times.
Well, years ago, I hauled some stuff in my trailer one time. It just says military surplus, and there was only one barrel in my truck. I don't know what it was, and I didn't want to ask.
You just, man, and that's another hazard of being a truck driver is you just don't know what's in your truck sometimes. And especially if it's something for the government or for the military, they will take this box from here to there.
I hauled an envelope one time in a 53-foot trailer. Just one envelope for a signature.
Yeah.
I hauled it clear from Norfolk, Virginia to Colorado Springs, Colorado, over at the base over there, and then turned around and hauled it back.
I have heard of that. Yes. I think it's called custom critical. The
government paid me to do that. Yeah. There's some interesting stuff out there.
Mike Haynes, man, anybody want to contact you or get more information about this? Or don't call Mike.
Don't call Mike.
Is there any place
there's plenty of places they can go and look up stuff like this. The government's got plenty of websites they can go look up.
Any place that you go if you have a question?
If you want some comedy, you want some good comedy, there's a place called Bonehead Truckers that I like to watch for a good laugh.
Is this a YouTube page?
Yeah, and it is funny as hell. And that's where you are introduced to the dumbass drivers. Okay? And there's some out there. It's just like cars. Not everybody in a car is educated. Some of them's family tree don't even fork. Well, truck drivers are the same way. Some of them's tree never forked. It's more like a vine. It just runs through the damn trees. It just, yeah.
All right. Maybe after all this seriousness we've been talking about here on this podcast, Bonehead Truckers would give them a little bump, a little shout out.
Oh, it's funny. It is hilarious. I'm telling you.
All right, Mike Haynes, man. I've taken up a little time, and we've told a lot of stories, man. And is there any shout outs you need to give to some people that have helped you along the way? Or,
the only shout out I'd like to do is just pay attention. Just put the phones down.
Okay.
And that's 90% of all fatality accidents out here on the road, whether you're a truck driver or not. You will die if you keep that phone in that hand long enough.
All right, Mike Haynes. I usually finish these things off with last words of the people. It could be words to live by, something you heard a long time ago, maybe a family member told you, or a mantra you wake up with, and you look in the mirror and you go, hey, Mike Haynes, do this. Or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Mike Haynes, give some last words for the people.
Last words for the people. Well, keep your head above water. Get that bonehead out of the office. And just be safe on the roads, especially during the holiday seasons, because everybody wants to see their family.
Well, there you have it, party people. Mike Haynes. Oh, my goodness. Talking about truck safety, talking about road safety in general. Just keep an eye on each other. You're driving a vehicle that's probably 2,000 to, hey, it could be 20,000 pounds or more that you're driving around on these roads. And you're driving this little vehicle and you're going to try to beat that big giant vehicle. Just be mindful that that vehicle, that big giant rig vehicle, that 18-wheeler that's sitting next to you, they're going to win. They're going to win. If they get into a crash with you, 9 out of 10, they are going to win. So be mindful, be careful, stay off your phones. That's a big one. That was a big through line right there. You don't need to answer that text. You don't need to answer that phone, really. But, the safest you could be, that nice blue Parrot, I see that when I go to truck stops to get gas and fuel up, and I see these the truck drivers driving around. They got the headsets with the microphones set up, and I didn't even know they were voice activated. That's technology right there. You say answer, you say ignore. If they know the call, they don't even have to look at their phone. They can answer, keep their eyes on the road, hands at 10 and 2 or 9 and 3. I remember George Carlin said he keeps his hands at 2:15 and 9:45, give himself an extra half hour to get to work. But I digress, man. It was good talking to my brother-in-law, Mike Haynes, man. Thanks for coming in and giving a little info, food for thought, man. These people don't really know exactly what a truck driver does unless they're actually truck drivers themselves. People on the road see these big giant trucks, and a lot of them think, hey, what a nuisance. This big giant truck is in my way. Well, they're in your way, and they have a lot of stuff to bring to all the good boys and girls that are needing stuff. Okay? There's another George Carlin thing, talking about stuff. He had a big routine that he talked about with stuff. But everything that can be hauled is hauled in those big rigs. And Mike Haynes, hey, you're part of it. You're part of the lifeblood of America. The lifeblood of this world is those trucks hauling stuff from place to place. I know you mentioned a lot about toilet paper, and that was recent. People doing a run on toilet paper and running out of toilet paper. That's pretty important. If you don't have it, you're going to wish you had it more often than not. I mean, what else you going to wipe with? Mike Haynes, hey, man, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it so much. I hope some people got some good information from you. I know I got some good information. And if I got good information from you, Mike Haynes, I know other people will as well. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. I'm talking to you, I'm turning my attention to you. If you would like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email KeysDAN@AOL.com. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.